Okay, so there's been like a bit of discussion about Iron Banner, and finally we have like any mention of steady hand as a weapon at all. So DMG made a tweet asking for additional context on Kremel's dagger versus steady hand, mainly about which one you prefer and why. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Personally, I prefer steady hand, just off the rip, I'm gonna say that. I just think it feels better, and yeah. I got an extra, like, 200 kills on this weapon for this video. I believe I have, like, 1,000 on it overall across all of the rolls I've gotten, somewhere around that. And I have about, say, 2,700 kills on Kremel's. Probably higher. It's probably more like 3,000 because I've used a couple of different rolls at this thing. And I've used this for my entire Ascending grind multiple times. Primarily, I would just run on Void Warlock with Empowering Rifts and just shoot people. And that was what was working because of Void, like, mainly Void Soul, I feel, was two-tapping people without even needing Adagio. So basically what I'm saying is I have experience with the weapon. Personally I prefer dueling more than not, because I just prefer dueling people, but I do feel it sounds better off with a sideways Adagio roll in the current sandbox. Just outright, I think most guns kind of just need pure killing performance over anything else. But anyway, let's compare the two weapons. So Kremel's dagger and steady hand both have incredibly similar stats. They both have, you can get AD range on it. You have 31 versus 30. Sorry, you have 31 versus 30 stability. You have like 30 handling, and I believe you can get 30 handling on this, but it's usually about 20 or 15. And steady hand is slightly less reload speed, even less for using iron grip for the extra stability. Same zoom, 3 more aim assist, and steady hand has slightly worse recoil direction, 85 instead of 93. Oh no, 93, it's 98. So they're basically identical, statistically. However, on perks, they're entirely different weapons. So, go with steady hand first. The probably main biggest role of this is going to be slide shot and not iron gears, but iron grip, because it'll give you a free 20 stability at the cost of, well, technically at the cost of reload speed, but if you're running slide shot, it does no matter anyway, because you're just going to be reloading through that. So, it'll basically just feel like a 140 hand cannon with 120 damage, which is pretty good. You can also, well, you used to be able to run Killing Wind, and Swashbuckler is just like a chaining build. And then you can go for the like 140 build again with Quick Draw or Snapshot Sights, and get a very snappy feeling hand cannon. I think most people generally prefer this over Quick and Snap. Or really, I think most people are probably at the time are just going for 2 taps, but I think for the main purpose of the weapon, which is dueling, you can see by the perks, these are pretty much all dueling perks, with the exception of Swash and Killing Wind. This would be probably what the ideal role is. But when you try to do that on Kremel's, it's definitely there, but it's not its main purpose, because it's got Adagio on it. And Adagio is basically the perk that's allowing everyone to 2-tap right now. And it's a bit of a problem, but I'm going to stop it right now. I mainly use air trigger and zen moments, because that's what I enjoy, but this is its main purpose. You could use like sideways or air trigger with Zen or explosive if you really want like a dueling build or like precision instrument, but again, this is what you're going to be running because it is just the best kinetic hand cannon in the game. And I feel the loss of the dueling aspect is even more shown in the feel. Because Kreml's is like a big, chunky, it's a heavy hand cannon. It feels like it shoots hard, I guess, whenever you fire it. And it like slightly blocks your vision because of how the model is set up. The sight is like very far away from where the actual like end of the gun is. So whenever you're ready, yes, you're actually quite close, which means it feels like it takes up more of the screen. And it also feels like it shoots higher up whenever you're firing, which mixed with the sound, like it just doesn't feel as clean. It feels like you're fighting the weapon a little bit more, even with Zen moments. I don't know Zen moment. Like it feels like you're having to fight the weapon a bit more. Like again, sideways, same thing, but steady hand, it's a lot cleaner, the sight is like a lot closer, it's slightly stepped up even, so the model's even more out of the way. So whenever you're shooting, it's like feels a lot cleaner, it feels clearer even. Just like almost snappy even, like especially with the sound, because it's like a 140 model. It is literally a 140 model. It's stealing directly from Better Doubles, which was a fairly light feeling hand cannon anyway. It just had the problem with blocking your shots because of the RPM being slightly too high, I feel, for the reset speed of this thing. Barrel on 120, because of fire slow, you just don't have that problem. Also feel when you put shaders on it, these models usually have a little bit that goes black on like the top rail, which makes it very easy to distinguish. Like if I use this, just for example, like that top rail becomes very distinguishable, so I feel like it becomes easier to see the sight when it loads back in, which makes it a lot easier to do follow-up shots with this thing, as opposed to Primals, which doesn't have that effect when you put a shader on it. I put even the same one on. Once I find it, I want to say it's that a different one. I can't find it now. But if I just grab a shader, then it actually does it. Which is going to be hard to find, because you can see it shades basically the same no matter what. Like even trying to get one with like actual contrasty colors and not very similar ones. Like, I guess that one works. You see how this little bit here shades because it's the same color as the weapon? Like it feels like it shows up like slightly later. It's probably better to do it with a black shader. That one might work. And yeah, because the dot is like just a red dot, it means it works worse with shaders, and this is also a thing, but the anti-barrier hand cannon mod makes it harder to see as well because of the glow on the end. But because this is like a bit more of a red dot as opposed to the orange. I guess this is orange? Yeah, it is more orange than anything. This is like a slightly bigger red dot, has the little side bits here, which should change based on sight, but they all stay the same color. It just makes it a little easier to see. Oh, I think this one actually lowers my stability. Yeah, it does. It's like feelable. Like this now with 15 stability feels like Krummel's Decker. But it's just the weird bit to me. But it's just such a weird cutoff point. And these two have more stability than this does. So, yeah, it might honestly be because it's a 140 model, it just feels more like a dueling weapon because these are purely dueling weapons, but I don't know. I think that's basically it. And I think that's just a lot of feedback in general about weapon design. I could apply this to Rose as well. I think I did actually apply this to Rose in another video. How Rose just has a much cleaner, more visible model as opposed to Crandom Hammer, which I'm sure you can already see the problem on the left side of the gun, how it slightly blocks your POV. People definitely enjoy more when their like point of view of shooting someone is a lot clearer. That's why I actually really like this SMG. That's, despite all of the visual recoil around this SMG in particular, the actual recoil itself, you only need to actually pay attention to the scope in the middle. So we can get more weapons like this, or like steady hand, or Rose, I would very much so enjoy that myself. That's just a big piece of general weapon feedback there. So I think that's everything I need to cover? I think. So yeah. If you enjoyed, like, sub, whatever, and bye.